Well, you knew this was coming. You knew this was going to happen because today, folks, we learned about the 2024 Game Awards nominees. Lots of pomp and circumstance, a whole production, instead of just putting a list out there, done, of course, by my friend and yours, Jeff Keighley. And there's problems with this. There's controversy with this. And you know what? Rightfully so. Rightfully so. There are a lot of things to talk about with this, a lot of different avenues to go down with this. But first and foremost, as I stated on the last Jeff Keighley presentation, I will not be watching the Game Awards 2024. I'll check Twitter to see, what announcements are made, if there's anything worth talking about. Maybe I want to make a video, but I'm not watching the Game Awards this year because I think it's clear that Jeff does not respect your time. And if he doesn't respect your time, then why should you respect his show? And maybe that's a little mean to say, but I think it's the right thing to say. If Jeff doesn't respect the awards and we're just, rapid firing through some of these awards for categories that, let's be real, nobody really gives a damn about. If you're just going to sit there and rapid fire through these, why should I, as a viewer, care about the awards? We have an identity problem with the Game Awards. Is this a show to celebrate the video games of the past year, or is it something to present upcoming games via trailers and new exclusive announcements and stuff like that? It has an identity crisis. But of course, we have all of our favorite categories: best esports team, content creator of the year, a bunch of people that, I've never heard of. Maybe they're popular Twitch streamers or something like that. Games for impact, your little artsy fartsy games and stuff like that. But everyone was very interested in the main award, the Game of the Year award, because leading up to this, all of a sudden there was a massive controversy because completely out of the blue, a few days before the announcements were made, a FAQ went up on the Game Awards website where now DLC remakes and remasters were fair game. You know what? A remake, okay. Maybe I can understand that. A remaster, I don't think a remaster would ever get a nod for something like that. But DLC being able to be a nominee for the Game of the Year, for the best Game of the Year. Now that makes absolutely no sense because you have a category. You have a category called Best Ongoing Game. And DLC is indicative of an ongoing game. You have to have a base game. You can't just buy the DLC as its own standalone thing. DLC inherently is not a game. It is an addition to a game. It is an ongoing thing for a game that is already released. But we all know why. We all know why that was added. And it was for a certain game that just had to be in the Game of the Year. So we have our 6 nominees, and they are as follows: Astrobot, which was my Game of the Year for most of the year until something else came out. Balatro, the card game, because you have to have your one indie game in there. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is not a Game of the Year. I'm sorry. There was so much damn padding in that game. It was crazy. Black Myth Wukong, Metaphor ReFantazio, and of course, that Elden Ring DLC. How do you sleep at night? You obviously sleep on a large pile of money, Jeff Keighley. But DLC should not be Game of the Year. And it's funny to me because my Game of the Year, nowhere to be seen in this, which was Batman Arkham Shadow VR. But a VR game would never be nominated for Game of the Year, at least not in the near future, because for some reason we don't respect a VR game. Of course, there is a VR category, much like there's the Best Family Game category, which is AKA the Nintendo category. But looking at this lineup of games, I see two things. I see, first and foremost, that this was a bad year for video games. If you're so desperate to find a 6th game that you put DLC into that, this was not a great year for video games. And I better not see any dumbasses making videos talking about how great 2024 was for the industry, because this was by far one of the worst years ever. ever. You had catastrophic failures. You had massive layoffs. You had companies that are just being stagnant. You have all of this sort of, controversy surrounding games and, developers fighting with fans of games and stuff like that. This was a terrible, terrible year for the industry. And I feel like this accurately showcases that. This whole, the whole show, all of these nominees. And you have to think to yourself, well, what is the root of the problem? Because Jeff gets up there and says that he has no bearing in what is nominated. And this is where we go down the rabbit hole. This is where we get into the nitty-gritty of this situation. Because we have a jury of people worldwide. Okay, and this is something that I've talked about before, but it seems like lately, because of this large anti-woke movement, that people are now starting to open their eyes to it instead of just watching me and learning about this years ago. But when you actually look at the jury of people, you would see places like Newsweek and the LA Times and some random podcasts that nobody watches, nobody gives a shit about. Yeah, they have a big Patreon, but look at their actual numbers. Nobody really cares about this. But for some reason, for some odd reason, the list of jury people was not revealed this year. Even though every year past, we have gotten information of who this jury is. Is this a jury of my peers, or is this just the same old freaking circle jerk of individuals that control the mainstream video game media? You see this time and time again, people. You see this time and time again. And some people get a little bit too far into the conspiracy theory thing. And, you could do whatever. In my opinion, what it is it's a bunch of people that just happen to be friends because they're all within the industry. And they don't like anyone on the outside questioning things or doing their own sorts of things. Because every time I question something, it was a big deal. And people that I've never interacted with were dunking on me. And then you would look at who that individual is, who they work for, who they have worked for before. All of these people go from website to website to website. Oh, this website's laying off people? Well, I'll go work at this website. It's the same people. It's the same people always at the Game Awards. It's the same people always nominating things. And I don't think that is necessarily reflective of what people actually enjoy, of what people are actually playing, of what people are actually thinking. And the problem is, this is now viewed as like the most prestigious game award show there is. We're trying to trademark Game Awards. Nobody cares about the DICE Awards. Nobody watches that. Nobody talks about that. It's Game of the Year from Jeff Keighley and friends. You need a more diverse panel of people than just an echo chamber. Because if you're in an echo chamber, you're only going to get the same sort of mindset. And that's how you get questionable things and things that make absolutely no sense that end up popping up in these Game Awards. How many times have you seen a game that doesn't fit a category be in a category? And I don't think it's going to get any better. And I know some people in the comments are going to talk about, Stuttering Craig and his Game Award show. And, I'm friends with Craig. I'm actually doing side scrollers in December. But I feel like that's such a big undertaking. And viewing his show, there are problems with that too. And I mean, maybe it'll get better in time and stuff like that. But I don't know if trying to be the complete polar opposite of the Game Awards is really the right move. Like you're trying to do everything that they do, in a 180 at the opposite end of the spectrum. And so you're going to attract, people who are anti-Game Awards, but you're not going to get people who might respect the Game Awards or watch the Game Awards. And I understand it's a massive undertaking, and that's no slight against Craig. But I see kind of issues with that, and maybe we'll talk about that when I do his show in December. But this is just, it doesn't represent the average gamer. It doesn't represent you or me. And it's a shame. It's a shame. And I think every year we stray closer to what this show should really be. And much like Xbox, there is an identity crisis with the Game Awards. It's fueled by money. I mean, really, that's what it boils down to. You want to get a trailer at the Game Awards, 6 figures. You want your game showcased, 6 figures. And so you're going to start to see more and more random ass Chinese companies that you've never heard of before, all of a sudden getting lots of promotion. I mean, that's just the way it is. That is the way this is. It has become a greedy thing with individuals who don't represent the average gamer, in my opinion. And if anyone wants to, disagree with me, that's fine. This is just my opinion. But I see major problems with this show. And I think that this presentation, this revealing today, I think it shines a light on them. But let me know what you think of it in the comments section down below. Are you happy with all this? Are you cool with DLC being Game of the Year nominee? It makes no sense, man. It makes no sense. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, and share. Hit the bell as well. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.